Hi, Your Black World. I'm Shaquita Graham with ateco.teachable.com, and I'm here with the lovely Nomalanga Mhlauli-Moses of successfulblackwoman.com. How are you doing, Noma?
I'm doing great, Shaquita. How are you?
I'm doing good. And we're going to touch on a topic that is very hard for me to talk about because I am from Cleveland, Ohio originally, and we're talking about the celebration of the NBA win, which was really over the top for Cleveland because this was the first time in 50 years they received the championship. But at the same time, I kind of felt like, I can't fully celebrate. And I was just wondering I just had to unpack those feelings. And I was thinking about Tamir Rice, the 12-year-old that was shot by the police officer there. And the police officer was either acquitted or let go in some way, as we see, every day, just about. And then John Crawford was killed in a Walmart there. And then there was a couple that was shot, I think, over 100 times, or 100 bullets or something was sprayed into their car after a police chase, and they had no weapons and no one was found to be at fault. There was a lot of foul play and allegedly in these cases with Tamir Rice, for instance. The prosecutor was doing some really unethical things, again, allegedly. So, Noma, what do you think about this as the backdrop of an NBA win celebration?
Well, I think that you choose what you focus on. And honestly, I have no interest in fact, it was news to me just as you were talking and say they haven't won in 50 years. I did not know that. And unless you told me, I wouldn't have known that LeBron James was from, I honestly do not follow basketball or the NBA championship.
Right, okay.
No disrespect to those who do. So for me, the only thing that comes to my mind when I think about, or when I hear about Cleveland, is the Tamir Rice story. That's the one that really, stuck in my, stuck with me and really hurt me deeply. I don't know. I have two little boys. One is 7 and one's a very little, few months old. I don't know if, I'm not making any assumptions. I don't know if the depth of what I feel is the same with people who don't have little boys and are trying to raise them in this country. I don't know. But I do know what I feel. And it's having to remain optimistic that nothing's going to happen to your child in spite of constant evidence that things happen to other people's children. And most of those people, I don't want to call these things to myself, so I'm being mindful of what I'm saying.
Right.
I've noticed that a lot of these women, when it eventually happens, one of the things that they say is, I've heard about this happening and I never in a million years did I think it would be my child. So it's at the very least, it's a deeply hurtful thing. And I'm not sure what the way forward is.
Well, I have a lot of family members who are in Cleveland, and I see them celebrating the parade. There were like over 1 million people, celebrating. And then I just think back to when LeBron made this decision to go to the Heat. And I think about all of those faces, that sea of faces you see right now, that 1.3 million. And then I think about the tweets that he received after he decided as a businessman that going to the Heat, the Miami Heat, to play with them and leave Cleveland was the best decision to him. And he retweeted one of those tweets at the time and said, "You're a big-nosed, big-lipped, bug-eyed nigger. You're greedy and you try to hide your ghetto-ness." And we've seen this kind of backlash on Twitter with when Floyd Mayweather won the fight with Pacquiao. We've seen this where people just come out with these really racist rants. And I am sure that many of those, it would be hard for me to believe that 1.3 million people who were out there celebrating that win were not a part of, some of that racism at the time. And it just makes me think it's kind of like when your mom said she's not happy with the group of friends you're hanging around because she's saying those are really not your friends.
Right.
And I don't have any hate for LeBron. I think he has a beautiful family. He's definitely a great athlete, and he seems like a great husband and father. And I love all of that. But at the same time, I'm looking at this sea of people and I'm like, these are really not your friends. You know, now they're applauding you because look how much money they're making. Because 1.3 million people came to the downtown area to drink water and eat and go to games and all of that. That same owner took out an ad in the paper and vilified you in a way that we've never seen anybody do to an NBA player. So it's like a double-edged sword. How can I really celebrate this? What does this really mean? It's kind of like seeing a dog at a barbecue. You know, it's like you're at the barbecue, but you're the dog. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody else is celebrating, but you're happy, you're wagging your tail, but you don't really get your position in this, you know?
Absolutely. You know, and in our prior video, I think we talked a little bit about this where, you know, people have to be very, very aware and mindful of where they are and what the implications are of where you are. So, yeah, I mean, by all means celebrate, but be aware of what you're celebrating in the grand scheme of things. Mm-hmm. And actually, I shouldn't say by all means celebrate. I would caution people to be mindful of what they're actually celebrating. Because the thing with racism, unfortunately, is a lot of times people will be right in the middle of it and it hasn't hit them personally. And then the day that it smacks them in the face, it's almost like they got a wake-up call.
Exactly.
Right. So what bothers me is that wake-up call has already passed. Mm-hmm. And yet people still continue to go back and celebrate that. But, you know, at the onset of this video, I did say you do choose what you focus on. In the interest of balancing the conversation, we could say we can celebrate the fact that LeBron James is from Cleveland. He has spoken about how much he cares about Cleveland. Again, he is an excellent sportsman, outstanding, really. He's a family man. He has a wife, he has kids, and he's doing the right thing as far as we can tell in terms of that. So maybe that's what we can focus on, just to stop from being irritated by it all.
I mean, I think too that when you say choose what you focus on, I mean, I think that, you know, we're all trying to survive out here. We're all trying to live. So I think in the best interest of survival, we should think strategically about all things, right? We would think about how we're positioning ourselves. We should think about how are the resources flowing. For instance, in that scenario where LeBron James brought home the championship, what are Black people really getting out of that? I mean, do they own any of these restaurants? Do they own any of this merchandising? Do they own anything that, you know, Cleveland is benefiting from this? Okay, so LeBron has influence over 1.3 million people to where he can get them into a downtown area of Cleveland. I wonder how that influence could be used if he really focused on some of the injustices and some of the basically the slights and the all of the atrocities that are happening. I mean, Cleveland is a very segregated city, and I'm not to say just LeBron. And yeah, he's giving these scholarships. I think he's doing like a lot of money to scholarship, like over 1,000 kids. So I'm not trying to say that it's his duty to do all this, but if we're just thinking strategically,
I am saying it's his duty. It is his duty. Yeah.
And that's fine. But my point is a broader audience, because he's one man who can choose to do what he wants to do or what he doesn't want to do. And if we look to these type of people who are making over $100 million and they think that shields them from white supremacy. But if you see Tamir Rice get shot in the street, you might as well have seen my son get shot in the street, my brother, my husband. That's all the same thing to me. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying that I feel the same pain as his mother does. But to me, if you don't care about that kid, you don't care about my kid, you don't care about me or anybody else. And if I was LeBron James, I would feel that way having two sons. But at the same time, again, people when you have that cushion of finances, you may think you're insulated from that. So the whole thing is, it's a double-edged sword. It's really ironic though that at a time like the NBA championship, we see Black men put up on a pedestal, so to speak, and celebrated and honored, but yet we have millions of Black men locked up in prison. We have Black men and women being killed in the streets almost daily with impunity. And it's just, I don't know, it's just hard for me to get into it.
Yeah, the thread of what you're saying is that, this is an excellent distraction if you're in a position where you'd rather people focus on that than focus on how they're being killed and assassinated and locked up. And I may have told this story before, but there's a clip that often gets cut out or removed when, I don't know if you know, well, I imagine you do. There used to be this series when I was younger, the Shaka Zulu series.
Mm-hmm.
And,
yeah.
There's a scene that I hadn't realized often gets edited out. And in that scene, this white guy is in Zululand in what is now South Africa, talking to Shaka Zulu. And he comes and he's talking. And then Shaka Zulu listens to him. And then he says, his name was Lebana. So he says to him, Lebana, when you want to trap a monkey, and I'm ad-libbing here, but you'll get the point. He says, Lebana, when you want to trap a monkey, you'll have to realize that monkeys like shiny things. He says, so if you take a shiny thing and you distract the monkey with it, you can draw him, put it in where you want him to go, and he will pursue the shiny thing, and then you have him. You've trapped him. So then he turns to him and he says, so Shebana, what gifts and what shiny things have you brought for this monkey? Mm-hmm. So he recognized that he was trying to distract him with all these things while he had a different agenda. It may not be overt, but you do have to recognize that now, probably being a person who does a lot of business online, when you Google Cleveland, Tamir Rice may not come up. The championship will probably come up.
Right.
That's what people are going to be hearing about Cleveland, and they will slowly forget about all the atrocities that you talked about. So again, we always do have to ask ourselves, where's the shiny thing and where's the trap when we see a shiny thing?
And it's like, how soon do we forget? And I mean, LeBron James received all those tweets, and I can only imagine because, just in the comments section on our little videos, come on now. LeBron James, I know he was called the N-word backwards and forwards in every kind of configuration you can think of by those same people that's sitting up there celebrating them, many of them, I think, allegedly. And I have personally been in heated conversations defending LeBron James during that time when he went to the Heat, on the job, in the grocery store. There were people who vilified him, and you could tell, like, some really suspected white supremacists, they really had a very nasty tone about it. It wasn't about being a fan or anything like that. But, I would be sitting there looking at this sea of people thinking to myself, these are the same people. They would be out here in masks like this if I was getting hung, castrated, and burned alive. I can't get past these thoughts.
I rebuke that, Shaquita.
Huh?
I said I rebuke that.
No, but I'm saying that it would be this many people for that same purpose. We've seen it happen.
I understand your point. I absolutely understand.
And they would take your body parts and collect them as souvenirs of what they did to you. So I can't really just get into that. Again, you have to really look at the truth and the reality of where we're living and what's going on. I just can't lull myself to sleep. I can't forget. And I think that's a problem in Black society. We want to forgive and forget or whatever, but that doesn't work when you have an enemy that's feverishly after you. And so again, I'm not trying to attack LeBron James. I'm not trying to attack the fans who are excited and happy, but I personally, I just can't. I can't fully buy into it.
I hear what you're saying. You can't get past what's happened in the past, which showed the true colors of some of those people.
Exactly. And that's pretty much all I had to say about it, even though I could say a lot more. But
Me too.
so I want to thank everybody for watching. Again, we've got Nomalanga Mhlauli-Moses with us of successfulblackwoman.com. I have a platform called ateco.teachable.com, and we are developing a great platform together called marriedwomensbusiness.com, where we're going to be really delving into a lot of these social issues, and we're calling the virtual destination a place for the Black woman who wants it all. And so we're going to be talking about business, marriage, homeschool, and just having long conversations as we'll continue to do here on Your Black World. So we thank you for viewing, and thank you, Noma, for having this conversation with me.
Thank you, Shaquita.